Yeah, and so I do see a lot of undervaluing, and I know you also work with Rachel Waterman with the Global Development Solutions as well, with her report that she does on pricing, not directly, but you guys are, she's been a sponsor with you guys, and you guys have known her for a long time. So
Yeah.
we also love that pricing survey she does specifically for consultants as well to kind of cross-reference it, because she really gets into the behavior too, which is quite
Yeah.
interesting. Like, how are you feeling valued? Are you actually billing all your hours? Like some of these deep questions that are really that paint a picture with more information, right? And we can also see disparities, which is quite interesting too, between women and men, and you know what I mean, like what they're charging, how many, all of the things. So
Yeah.
so good to have this information you all are doing out there, because I know surveys are not an easy thing to tackle. Difficulty, but it gives
Right.
us so much information. It really does. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Cool. So
that's
I'm
and
so
that's
glad.
why
Yeah.
we're continued to committed to continuing doing that, just because we think it's valuable for individual grant professionals to be able to advocate for themselves. And we've heard the stories coming back from members and others saying, this was so great. I was able to go have a conversation, an employed grant professional. I was able to go have a conversation with my boss and say, hey, the salary information is showing where I should be.
Yeah.
And that's the pieces we want to be able to provide. And again, for the consultant side of it, for the consultant to measure and look at their internal evaluation and saying, I think I need to look at where I'm doing things differently. And maybe look at pricing my services differently.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you have that separated so it's very clear, because that is a very different, like if you looked at per
It,
hour, right? Because of the
oh yeah,
cost that
very
comes
much
along.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
much so.
So yeah, this is so good. So also let's kind of lean into now what's going on in 2025. What are you seeing like going out with this new federal administration? Like obviously we know like the federal cuts, the pauses, the things, all this. Like it's been a lot. It's been a lot. But also just like the state of the world right now. We're seeing a lot of like people are kind of just uncertain. They're like the tariffs, like we're talking today, the tariffs just went into effect, like all of the
Hmm.
things. Like, how is this impacting like grant writers, like all of the things that you're seeing?
I think one of the things is it's impacting everybody a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I kind of point to out of this whole thing is about the fact that, in my somewhat humble opinion, um, grants are good. And the reason I say that is because there's so much to the process. And we just talked a little bit about the process from the internal side of it. But even if you look at it from the external side of things, there's a process by which you apply for a grant. So you're telling your
Mm-hmm.
story, you're preparing, you're laying out all the components of it and how you're going to evaluate it. What are the outcomes? What are the, how are the things? How is the world going to be different as a result of this grant? And then not only that, did you tell the story to begin with, but then on the post award side, you prove what you did, and you
Yeah.
say, we took this money and we were able to, and this is one of my favorite examples, we were able to give kids backpacks full of food for the weekend so that they came to school on Monday morning not starving. And we saw educational results go up. Reading scores went up,
Mm-hmm.
math scores went up. This was the impact of this grant. And here's how we broke down spending that grant money so that as the grant maker, whether they're federal, a foundation, local community organization, whatever it is, they get the results. They get to see
Yeah.
what the great impact of that grant was. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that is such a valuable thing for grant, not only for grant professionals, but for philanthropy, for grants in total. We are able to tell the story not only on the front end of what we're going to do, but on the other side of it to say, here's what we did and here's what
Yeah.
the outcomes were. And sometimes even, sometimes there's going to be the outcomes weren't what we thought they were going to be.
Yeah.
And here's what we learned.
And
And
here's why. Yeah.
here's
Yeah.
why, and here's what we learned. And
Yeah.
here's what we're going to do differently going forward. What a great opportunity. What a great learning lesson. What a great way to really advance the thinking and transform things.
Right.
And so I think, yes, there are absolutely challenges. with the changes in the federal funding landscape. But I can also tell you, I know plenty of grant pros that are just as busy today as they were 6 months
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
because they're working on researching and pursuing grant opportunities from foundations, from community organizations, from local and state organizations. So
Right.
yes, the landscape is a little bit is different, and some of the things that have been there for years have gone away. But in my humble opinion, grants are not going anywhere. Um, there
Mhm.
there really is a lot of value to not only the grant process, but to the impact that grants can make in a community, and that it's measurable impact that is then reported back to the funder so that the funder can look at it. Whether you're talking about, I think of one of our local foundations, the Kaufman Foundation. It's a family foundation. They
Mhm.
can see how they're having that impact in the community,
Mhm.
in funding education and seeing how those educational impacts are helping the community. And so
Mhm.
for me, it's the it's different, but yet the work of the grant professional still remains important and critical to the success of so many organizations. Um,
Mhm.
and so, where that funding source comes from, yes, that's a challenge. And we talked earlier about grantstation, but
Mhm.
what a great tool to have at your disposal to say,
Right.
this organization is no longer funding this, and that happens on from time to time as well,
Yeah.
with organizations saying we're changing our funding priorities.
Yeah. I mean,
And
we saw in COVID.
yes, exactly. you
We
know,
we saw in COVID for sure.
you know, it,
Drastic
it,
changes
it, in
overnight.
in mentioning that's another thing that I have seen, in looking at what, some of the grant making organizations are doing, and what some of the grantors or grant makers are doing in terms of, um, some of them made those switches in right after COVID or during COVID to change some of their funding practices.
Yeah.
Some of them reverted back, and now we're hearing that they're going back to those funding practices in terms of looking and saying, if you had the grant last year and we've been successful, we've been in contact with you about it, come talk to us. Let's see if we can give you an advance to get you started
Yeah.
on next year's
I've
program.
been hearing the same thing with in my circles too with our grant professionals that have been saying that. Yeah. It's great to see, and that's what I'm saying too. Like I sometimes I say, hey, a lot of you started your businesses during COVID or since then, because what you don't know, this is what I tell them, right? I tell them what you guys don't know is if you started your businesses now, it looked very different before COVID. There's been a lot of money coming out like that we didn't see before. But I also said it was interesting on the webinar I did today. So see if you resonate with this. I said, but some organizations also those to kind of level set, some organizations during COVID, like performing arts organizations, that sort of thing, they're found everybody shifted, not just the federal government, also foundations said, you know what? We need to fund health right now. We need to fund education. We're not funding performing arts right now. They're actually in a better space today than they were then because of how everything massively shifted. So I'm also kind of like level setting. I think like with you, how you're kind of saying grants are always going to be them, like it's a part of the economy. It's so embedded. It's too entangled. Like they're not going to go away, but also like like we've been through this and things haven't actually looked normal. What you're thinking is normal isn't actually normal either, right? Well, tell me how does that resonate with you, Mike?
Oh no, that 100% resonates with me because, and I think your arts example is a perfect example of it. Um, Thinking about how many of those organizations recognized how they had become too reliant on one source of funding, and
Yeah.
quickly had to figure out how to diversify, because exactly as you said, the foundation that had really given to the arts said, oh my gosh, the community need is now health, or the
Mask,
community need is
right?
this.
Yeah.
I'm going
It
to
was
switch
different. Yeah.
here. um,
Mhm.
and that's one of the things that we've definitely been talking with folks about, is look at your funding diversification. How are you
Yeah.
looking at, are you reliant upon one funding program? Because that one program, yes, it arose during the last 3 to 4 years, doesn't mean it's going to be there forever. Um, and that's
No.
and that's that's not just on the government side. That's, a
No.
foundation can change their funding priorities, et cetera. And
Yeah.
so I think you're exactly right. It's funny you mentioned that, the kind of before times, because that's a, a, a consultant that I know said, she basically, kind of like you said, alerts people to say, yes, things have been really good for a long time. There will be a period of time when it's not as good. So prepare for that. Um,
Yeah.
be ready for
Absolutely.
there's going to be a little bit of lean time here. And then things will cycle back through again and we'll start picking back up.
Yeah, and the other thing too is we've been talking about in our mentorship program a lot, the last quarter is, assumptions. Like our assumptions kind of need to go out the
Uh,
window because at first, like, we're all going, and there's probably some validity to this still, I do think, but maybe not as much as completely 100%. Like we thought, okay, federal is getting cut, everyone's going to go to foundations. Foundations are going to be inundated. It's going to be super competitive. While there still may be some of that, I think what I'm seeing too is what we're talking about is people are peopling, and even nonprofits right now, they are like, oh my gosh, we don't need a grant writer right now because we don't know if you can even help us. And now they're kind of pulling back and not applying because what if it doesn't come through? And I'm like, maybe it's actually going to be less competitive than we think because
oh,
people are also peopling, like they're the behavior is like, what do
yeah.
you think about that?
I love that phrase. People are peopling. I just
Yeah.
love that phrasing. That's interesting because I think that is that fear of foundations becoming hyper competitive, I think, is definitely out there as a fear. But I also think, to your point, there are those who are taking a step back and saying, what are our funding sources? What are our programs that we're doing? And how do we need to get back in alignment with them? Um,
Yeah.
and it's absolutely a challenge. And I think that's the leadership of the organization looking and saying, what's the opportunity? And I think this then is where the grant professional can serve a very vital role in terms of looking at the landscape and being able to
Yes.
say, yes, this kind of funding has gone away. This kind of funding is still here. Now, it's different funding than we've ever looked at before. And to your
Mhm.
point, and this is also a piece of advice that I try to give a lot of people in the field, is as much as you think grants are about completing an application, they're also just as much about relationships,
Mhm.
and building relationships, whether that's with a federal grant program officer or your local family foundation or the school district foundation. You have to start building those relationships so they know who you are, um,
Yeah.
and because, as you said, people are peopling.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, people are still making the decisions about those
Yeah.
grant programs. And
And they're
so,
having all of the recession talk or tariff talks or looking at eggs, and they're seeing all the same information that we are and making decisions, right? So it is
yeah,
like I was just teaching today about how we need to overcome new objections. So, and objections are just questions that haven't been answered. So we're going to
right.
have maybe some objections that we haven't heard in a while in our sales calls just because of what's going on. And all you need to do is know how to overcome them, right? Know how to address it. And that's why I say, look at the results. And I love to your point too of like saying, diversify a little bit. And for us, it's not like, oh, you need to learn all new skills and I'll do fundraising, grant writers. I mean, they might choose to, but I'm just like, hey, all you need to do, take that master grant application you wrote and also develop another asset like a corporate solicitation letter, repurpose it. You don't have to do the whole campaign, but repurpose some of your, because the grants, as you mentioned, it's a business plan. It is more than just asking for money. Like it is a plan. So
Yeah,
repurpose all that work that you put into the grant into a donor appeal letter, right? Repurpose your copy, and those could be additional assets without learning entirely new skills. Just learn how to repurpose, and you can have all kinds of like ChatGPT can help you with that, right? And that can be other resources to help like your clients get more money, right? Get more money right now, and that can just be a way you can show up and serve. Like it doesn't have to be hard, right? So,
yeah,
um,
absolutely agree. And I think that that concept of repurposing, there's a lot of corporate foundations that maybe have
yeah,
been untapped resources. And again,
absolutely.
changing changing things around a little bit and doing a corporate appeal letter
Yeah.
you've got the core content. It's just
Yep.
reformatting it and maybe speaking a little bit different language than what you would for a community foundation. So I think
Yeah.
that's an excellent point.
And that's what we're bringing in. We're actually doing a corporate solicitation campaign training next month into our program. But even if you just repurpose it at this level to make it another asset, so instead of like writing 15 foundation grants, you're going to write 10 foundation grants and a corporate letter and this, right? But we're also teaching them how to do the full campaign that you could then show up and have another skill if you want. We're going to do a Giving Tuesday one closer to that too.
Oh,
So
nice.
either, yeah, repurpose this to our Giving Tuesday letter, or here's how you run a campaign. Really not that hard, but here's a skill you can learn in case you want to diversify your services or add it to your assets for your retainer services. And that can overcome some of those, like, how are you going to help me if grants all disappear this year? Well, they're not for one,
Yeah.
but for two, we can give you a couple of other things so you're not so dependent on them. So we have varied funding health for your organization too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that you bring that up, and thinking about repurposing things, think about the stories that you've told and written in the case statement or the the in your grant application.
Yeah.
Convert that story to an appeal letter.
Yeah.
What about the story of the success story that you wrote as a part of the grant report? Share that success story as part of an appeal. There's
Yeah.
great ways to reuse those things that you as a
So
grant professional have
easy.
already developed.
Yes.
Great ways to pardon the term, but pivot. and,
Yeah. Yeah. We got it. We're bringing it back.
we're bringing it back. Um,
Yeah.
but to and I think that's the other part of it is, as I think back and as I'm seeing some of this, I'm seeing some similar reactions to what we saw 5 years ago, right at the
Oh
beginning of
yeah.
the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's COVID vibes for sure.
yeah, and
Like, yeah.
it is it's unsettling, and it's the
Yeah.
uncertainty, and it's the same kind of uncertainty we had for those first 3 to 4 months, right after, as I just saw that we're in the 5 year anniversary window of it, that
Mm-hmm.
you know those first months we just didn't know, and I
Yeah.
think that's, again, the unknown is that big fear, and recognize that that's where we're at, and we've got to
Yeah.
figure out how to navigate our way through.
Yeah. And we can. We survived a global pandemic. We
Yes.
can do this. We can do hard things, and it
Yes.
doesn't have to feel hard, right? Okay, I'm going to repurpose. I'm going to maybe lean on ChatGPT to help me take this case statement, put it into this. Okay, all right. That's just as an entrepreneur, especially all the grant consultants. Like as an entrepreneur, it's a way of life. Things are always changing. We just don't see that like this much all at once sometimes, but
Right.
it's okay. Like we've been through things that are hard, and we can do it. We can get through. We can tap into new resources. We can find the innovation. We can find the silver linings. I know a foundation today reached out to me on Instagram, and I thought it was so interesting, Mike, because they usually don't do this, and this is what made me say assumptions need to go out the window. Is they said, "Hey, Holly, we have these great opportunity right now to get like into the door, not just a 1 year grant, but for animal rescue nonprofits. Like we have these great programs. We really want to support them right now." And they even develop their own assets. Like here's a social post, here's captions. Can you get the word out? And I'm like, if you are getting applications right now and we're thinking everyone's going to be inundated, like it's clearly not. You know what I mean? Like I think there's so much out there, and there's still money out there. There's still money. And
Yeah.
it's just like changing hands maybe a little bit, but where are you going to find it? They still want to fund these causes. It's still important, as you mentioned. So good. So like, don't tighten up. Like I feel like a lot of people, right? Tighten up, holding back. I don't want to hire anyone. I don't want to do grants. No, you need to. You need to right now. You need to get this money circulating in the economy, helping the causes. It's out there. So I hope that resonates with you too from what you're seeing, because that's kind of what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of different things. I'm seeing federal grant writers. Yeah, they are getting smacked right now. Like, let's be real too. We can't be completely Pollyanna about this. Like, like let's be real. It's
Right.
hard. It's hard. But it's not hard for everyone. There's a lot of people that are bringing in clients every single day still in our programs, right? They're still winning grants. So
Yeah.
it is a little different right now, and it is challenging, but there are things we can do. Is there anything else you wanted to add on that?
No, not right now. I think that's a good place to leave it. I agree with you. It's we're we're able to do hard things, and this is a time of hard things.
Yeah.
And agree with you that um, there are a lot of people that the work that they've done for the last however many years is not there anymore, and so
Yeah.
it's a matter of how are we going to handle this and what are we going to do differently.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, and yeah, just to be like, yeah, there's going to be a way. There's some people, they are laying off people in their business, in their agencies right now. Like it is happening, but there's also windows and there's ways. I do believe we're going to see more federal grants coming out. I do believe it's just like, the pendulum is going to swing. Things are going to settle in different ways. All right. There's always change. Change is always happening. But
Yeah.
on that note, you also have a conference coming up this year. So before we close out this year, I just also wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about where's it at? Yeah.
Yeah, so this year's Grant Summit will be in Baltimore, Maryland. It's October 29th through November 1st. It's three plus days of all things grants. I like to
Nice.
call it the loudest gathering of introverts in the world, because it's really where you get to meet your people and you find all those folks that speak your language, understand the challenges you're being faced with, and really find tools and resources to help you be a better grant professional. It's amazing to me just watching the hallway conversations, um, listening to the people and hearing from the attendees who talk about, I gained so much today that I've got a whole list of stuff I'm going to do differently when I get back to my home office. I made connections today to two or three people who are basically in my same field, um, but have said, yeah, connect with me. Let me help you understand what nuances we're dealing with. Uh, Here's a
Mhm.
funder that we've had success with over the years, and because of whatever, we're not using them anymore. Let me connect you with the program officer. Let me help you get
Yeah,
connections. And so
those back end connections. So good.
it is so it's just so amazing for me to
Yeah.
watch and watch folks learn from each other. And like I said, I attend conferences for myself, but it's those hallway conversations and those little
Yeah.
connections that you make, that make all the difference in the world. And again, we're looking to say, what can we do to help you as grant professionals advance yourselves, make those connections, give you access to resources, and so that, again, raising the level of professionalism, building that community, finding ways for you to advocate for yourself, it all comes together really nicely over those 3 days.
Yeah, it is. And I've been to a conference. I know I don't go often because I'm from Guam, but now you guys started doing more virtual. So that's been helpful. So I was a
Yeah.
speaker at one and then I came to one. Yeah. And I attended. Vule was a guest speaker or the keynote that time when I went. It was
Okay.
so, so good. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up, because we are one of the fewer organizations that has maintained our hybrid approach.
Yeah.
So we
So
do
good.
have a virtual component. So there is in person, but then there is also a virtual component. We can't cover everything, but it's a pretty solid program for the virtual attendees. So we have that hybrid program
Yeah.
available for those who can't travel, or maybe the travel budget got cut this year. You
Yeah.
can still be a part of the community, still be part of getting the training through the virtual option.
So, so good. Awesome. And so where can people find out about more about you? So on your website, we'll have the links, but go ahead and say it here so that they're just listening. They can put it
Yeah,
in.
absolutely. Grantprofessionals.org is our main homepage, and you'll see resources on the front page. One of the things I didn't mention earlier, but since we're talking about the website, one of the other advantages of GPA membership is we maintain a consultants directory.
Oh,
And one of the
nice. Oh,
great
that's
things
right.
about the
Yeah.
consultants directory is we get calls really on a daily basis of people looking for consultants to help them with their grants in their grants
Yeah.
program. And so we refer them to that consultants directory all the time. And so the
Yeah.
consultants directory is on there. But
Love that.
again, we're trying to add resources on a regular basis. We're adding resources around federal grants funding, and our training resources as well. We just revamped our website, so if you haven't been in a while, stop back by. We've changed some things around. But
Nice.
it also includes a number of member benefits that we
Mhm.
offer, including GrantStation and discounts on other software packages. The other
Lovely.
thing I will mention, you mentioned our website and our educational program. We just launched a new platform this year called Grant School,
Hmm.
um, which is where all of our education is at home.
Okay.
So if you go to grantprofessionals.org, you'll see the link to Grant School, and you can see all of our programming, which includes some learning paths. So
Nice.
if you want to, one of the learning paths that we launched last year was on logic models. So if
Hmm.
you need a refresher on logic models, what a great way to do that is in visiting the website, and it's a so I think it's about a 4 hour series of different presentations
Very
and
cool.
resources on logic models. So
Nice.
a lot of different resources you can find on the website. The GPA Code of Ethics is there. So if you
Mhm.
need a PDF version of that to print off or share on your website, and included in there are a lot of our frequently asked questions. So great tool for you to use as a resource for
Mhm.
yourself and for clients or folks that you're working with.
So, so good. Yeah. And we'll have all of the links, like, yeah, amazing resources. So, so good. Yeah. So we will have all of that, all the show notes. Thank you so much again, Mike, for coming on the Grant Writing and Funding podcast. So good to have you back on and to, yeah, chat with you about all the things.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure, Holly. Holly, it's always a pleasure to chat with you and catch up. And, we really are about transforming and reshaping the world through the transformative power of grants because we know what great work grants can do and the great impact
Absolutely.
they can have on communities everywhere.
Mhm. Awesome. All right. Well, I will see you. I'll be at the conference. So I'll see you this year. Yeah.
All right. We will see you
Awesome.
later this year. Thanks,
Okay. All
Holly.
right. Take care. Thanks. Bye bye.